What is going on, YouTube? What is going on, Kansas City? And what is going on, everybody? And welcome to the Beat of KC. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Lucas Murphy. And again, I have the pleasure of being joined by Josh Fan and Michael Darcy. Guys, obviously, we're coming off another loss. And I've been trying to think about how I'm going to start this video. I'm going to go ahead and just get it out of the way. I'm not going to go on to a big rant because I want to hear your guys' thoughts, of course. That's why I have you on. But I'm not upset. I don't think I'm very, before years past, I would have been just completely pissed. I would have been mad that there's just times where we just seem inept to do anything on offense. But there was some positivity and some things that I saw that I really kind of feel like we're going to be able to turn the page. This is adversity at its finest. This truly is adversity at its finest. This team is being battle tested. This is what you need to really kind of create that longevity as you go. And so I'm not going to be negative. I mean, there's times where I'm going to kind of talk down on some things, but I feel very optimistic for starting 0-2. So with that being said, I'm going to jump this one over to you, Michael, and just really kind of get your thoughts on just in general. I just want to hear your thoughts in general from the game. And just if you need to rant, if you need to go off and you need to do your thing, just let me know your entire thoughts about this game.
I'll try to keep it focused and condensed. I mean, outside of Patrick Mahomes, who showed up on offense today? Maybe Tyquan Thornton, Travis Kelce, maybe before he dropped and sold the game. I mean, that's a catch you have to make. Isaiah Pacheco definitely didn't. I've got a lot of thoughts on him, strong thoughts on him. I mean, Andy Reid, what are we doing? Like, it's been the same stuff over. The offense, and Lucas, your glowing optimism is admirable. I wish I had it, because often, and I'm going to give you credit, you've been right. You've been right over and over and over again. The issue with is, and I see this offense has been bad for 3 years. And it's just not changed for 3 years. The offense is going to be better. It hasn't been better. It's actually probably gotten worse over the past 3 years. Each year there's been a gradual decline. And I understand your top two pass catchers are out, but that's been what the Chiefs have had the past couple seasons. Injuries happen. Guys aren't getting any healthier. I mean, you got another ticking time bomb in Hollywood Brown who's just waiting to get hurt. I am very worried about this Chiefs offense. I do think defensively they looked much better. Now, there were a couple plays that made you want to gouge your eyes out and pluck them out, but I feel like overall, defensively, you're going up against one of the best offenses in football. 20 points should be enough to win a football game, but it seems like Andy Reid hasn't innovated for the last 3 years. I mean, the guy that we have been told is the offensive mastermind, someone who is one of the best signal callers, play callers in NFL history, hasn't been like that for the past couple of years.
For sure. Josh, before I get to you, I want to kind of put a question on a tee for you. And the reason is because I think out of all of us, and I know Darcy's definitely hit on it, but I think out of all of us, you kind of identified it early on. So before I really get your thoughts on the game, my question to you is obviously this offense is almost starting to become one-dimensional. There is absolutely an inept ability to run the football. We see short yardage situations where you almost have to go to Kareem Hunt because he's the most reliable back you have. So my question to you before you kind of elaborate on the game as a whole, can you just talk about how becoming a one-dimensional team is just a disadvantage for a football team of this caliber?
Yeah, well, I said last week that I'm tired of seeing Patrick Mahomes be this team's leading rusher. And I'll say it again. I'm tired of seeing Patrick Mahomes be this team's leading rusher, having to do it all by himself. And yes, Lucas, it does make them one-dimensional because when you have no explosive running game, it's easier to defend the pass if you're the defense because you're like, this team ain't going to run the ball. And even if they do, Pacheco, Kareem Hunt in 2025, this isn't scaring anyone. But I agree with just about everything Michael said in his little opening monologue. I thought he really hit the nail on the head. I'm worried about the offense because, okay, we said in the little kind of mini preview we did with Michael, he was like, Eagles secondary is weak. And I was like, I agree that Eagles secondary is weak right now. This offense has not taken advantage of bad defenses. And for the record, I don't think the Eagles are a bad defense, but I understood what Michael was saying in the preview that we did. And it's like this Chiefs offense just isn't capable of doing that because they themselves are not good. And it has been that way for about 3 years now. Now, I'm still wanting to cut them a little bit of slack because of the wide receiver injuries. You're down Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, and Jalen Royals, who we all thought was going to be a big player this year. But I'm telling you, all this could have been avoided. It could have been helped if Brett Veach went out and took the running back position seriously for this Chiefs team, and he just didn't, and that's the unfortunate truth. As far as the defense, I'm also with you, Lucas. I'm optimistic going forward because I think they showed you they can put together a game that absolutely gives you a chance to win.
Right.
They did that today against a very talented Eagles offense. That said, pass rush still a big problem, still something that we're going to have to do something about that pass rush for sure. And I mean, the Trent McDuffie play where he was right there with Devontae Smith on the blitz from Steve Spagnuolo, one-on-one coverage, your all-pro corner has to win that. That was a 50-50 ball. You can't let 160-pound Devontae Smith beat you for that ball. And that's unfortunately been a theme for the Chiefs secondary for a long time now, is just lack of ball skills. McDuffie's a great cover corner. He obviously was in position to make a play, but man, you just cannot allow that pass to be completed because that was the real killer on defense today. And I don't want to blame the defense for the loss at all because, like I said, I think they absolutely gave the Chiefs a chance. But I think the kind of larger issue that no one has brought up yet that I want to say, because I'm sure you'll have thoughts on it, Lucas, for your video, but Harrison Butker, yet again, missing a kick that he typically makes, changed the entire game again. And it's becoming a problem as well.
For sure. No, I definitely agree with that. And that's one thing that I kind of spoke out loud watching the game was I said, that can't happen. That cannot happen. Those are valuable points on a dependable kicker that you expect. I mean, heck, just 30 minutes, maybe, no, not even 30 minutes, a little bit less than that. Before this game kicked off, the Dallas Cowboys kicker, Aubrey, kicked like a 64-yarder.
Yeah.
And it had 10 yards to even go when it went through the field goal post. So that just tells you the importance and the value of a kicker that can have a clutch gene. And we've seen Butker have that. It's just, for whatever reason, we're having some issues. I do want to kind of highlight some things on the defense real quick, and then I'm going to kind of get some questions off of that because we really hit on the offense. Guys, I'm impressed with Noel Williams. The fact that you have a rookie corner out on the outside who really in his snaps that we were able to see, and I'm really going to try to dive in and find some information on how many snaps he played, things like that. But there were times where he locked down A.J. Brown. There were times where it was a clutch play. They went to Devonta Smith, and he broke it up. Williams played some very, very effective snaps in this football game, which to me is a very positive for a cornerback room that we had a lot of questions around. Some other things, too, I think we really kind of talked about. Just like everybody in Kansas City and across the United States who are Chiefs fans have text groups going back and forth. We're often, this group right here, we text.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the most important things is that we did see a little bit better defense against a team that really has the skills to just do a lot on offense. And I think one of the things I was most impressed about with this defense was the fact that how many times did they get put at a disadvantage and they ended up stopping this offense to either force, a field goal or whatever it may be. I mean, we turned over on downs. I mean, the interception, there were a lot of things that happened. And for us to hold them to 20 points at a lot of disadvantages for this defense, I think speaks volumes to Spags really kind of going into his playbook and really try to scheme for a team after coming off a really bad game against the Chargers. So my question to you, Michael, is going to be really what impressed you specifically with this defense? What really kind of in a positive manner, I mean, because we talked a little bit about it, what positivity did you see from this defense?
I kind of mentioned it a little bit in my video. I thought that the defensive backs were night and day better than they were last week, and I think it's kind of hard to be as bad as you were in week one. I thought that Omar Norman-Lott looked good in the very limited snaps that we saw from him. That's a very encouraging sign. I thought the Chiefs' defensive line, while they couldn't really get pressure outside of blitzing, they stopped one of the most hard, tough plays in football to stop, the tush push, on multiple times. I'm sure we're going to talk about that in this video because, I mean, it's not why the Chiefs lost this game, obviously, but I mean, the Eagles' guards are flying into the knees of the defensive line before the ball snapped. And so it's just like, how do you expect the defense to stop a nearly unstoppable play when the Eagles are jumping? I think that's stupid. But defensively, I thought the cornerbacks played well. You mentioned, Noel Williams. That's I thought Kevin Knowles looked good too. A guy that got elevated from the practice squad. I was impressed by his performance as well. And, another thing, I mentioned it. And we know that Trent McDuffie is good on the outside, but he's better in the slot. That play with Devontae Smith, that was, on the outside. And I think you also have seen him struggle against, taller receivers. So not trying to make my positive into a negative, but I thought the defensive backs, for the most part, outside of maybe a few mishaps, played much better.
For sure. And I think, too, really kind of the adjustments that were made with Christian Fulton going out pretty early in this football game, I still think kind of speaks very positively to the secondary, because the fact that that's someone you paid, you rely on, you thought he was going to really contribute this year, and he just seems to not be healthy. So I think it really kind of shows you that they stepped up in a big way. Now, something I really talked about, Josh, before this game started, and it was definitely discussed in the media at a very high level, was the fact that this team just lacked any type of motivation. The energy was dead. And I really talked about the X factor being the Kansas City Chiefs fan base, the fact that Arrowhead was going to be rocking. Really, I guess my question to you is do you think that this narrative of a lack of motivation or energy has kind of changed a little bit after this game?
It certainly seemed that way on the sidelines after this one, particularly with Travis Kelce. You saw him all fired up at the beginning of the game, and then he makes the big mistake, and then the feeling sets in that you're going to lose. Something just felt off with this team. Now, maybe that's just kind of end of the game feeling or overreaction, and we'll see him next week, and they'll come out firing. But I also see this same look from Mahomes, and I think we saw it a lot throughout the regular season over the past couple years, where he wants to say something, but he's too good of a teammate to ever say anything. And he definitely feels frustrated right now. And I remember seeing him during week 1 on the sidelines, kind of with that look on his face and his head down. Like, he wants to, this was supposed to be the revenge tour, and now you're 0-2. And the big problem is that your defense, despite the fact they cleaned it up this week, they're giving up big plays. They still gave up some big plays in this one that shouldn't have happened. And your offense is unexplosive. You can't get to the quarterback on defense, and your offense is unexplosive. It's a bad combination.
For sure. Yeah, I could not agree more, for real. So I guess how I'm going to kind of circle this thing together and kind of keep it together. We saw, as kind of pulling back and looking at the NFL as a whole, and we saw a lot of football today, which was amazing. The Denver Broncos lose a pretty significant game to the Colts. Bo Nix had a pretty good game, had some costly turnovers. The Chargers and the Raiders are obviously going to be playing against each other, and so one of those teams will lose, but one of the other teams obviously is going to win. So this division, I still feel, is very wide open, and I think some of my optimism around that is the fact that there just isn't a clear, distinctive front runner outside of even the Buffalo Bills. And if we're just being honest, the Buffalo Bills played the New York Jets today, and Josh Allen did not look very good. Now, obviously Cook went off. They had some very, their defense kind of actually turned it around from week 1. So my question, Darcy, is obviously we're 0-2. We have struggled to even pull out two games, it seems like. But I guess my question to you is are you concerned with the way this AFC is playing to where we're at? Because to me, again, just being the optimist that I am, and seeing where this team's gone, the adversity we've overcome year after year, I'm just not afraid of this AFC. There's just not anybody that just seems like, man, I don't want to face this football team. How do you feel about the AFC where it currently sits?
It's interesting because, yes, there might not be a juggernaut in the AFC, but I think you've seen over the past 3 games that it doesn't take a juggernaut to beat this Chiefs team. They've kind of just beaten themselves. And so I think you're almost staring down the barrel of starting 1-3. You're going to New York next week. That should be, they scored 37 in overtime? They didn't win the game, but they dropped a lot of points. You think the Chiefs could score 37? I don't know. We haven't seen it. And, you play Baltimore at home. I'd like to say you've got a chance, and you obviously have a chance to win the game, but let's be real. The schedule keeps getting harder as the season goes on. And yes, I think that the AFC is open. It's always going to be open when you have Patrick Mahomes and you have a shot to win, but Buffalo's schedule's a cakewalk. I think starting 0-2, you basically kiss that 1 seed goodbye. They might not lose more than 3 games the whole year. Now, the Chiefs have a tough schedule, and, I think that they are capable of kind of reclaiming things, and they could still win the division, but the division's a lot better. And I think the biggest question that I have for you guys is, what have we seen so far this season, even going back to last season, that would let you believe that, this team offensively is going to turn it around? Because I feel like last year they had a lot of one-score wins, and everyone said that was a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, but one-score wins aren't sustainable. One year you might go 15-2. Another year you might go 9-8,
Yeah. No, I think to kind of counter off of that, I think you're seeing, even though this game really didn't reflect it, I think you're seeing this offensive line kind of grow together. The fact that Josh Simmons, excuse me, I'm sorry.
You're good.
I was thinking of Pacheco. But Josh Simmons ran down the person that intercepted the ball. I think it was Mitchell. Intercepted the football, and you have your offensive lineman hitting 18 miles an hour and takes out the guy that intercepted the football. I think this offensive line, honestly, is going to cohesively come together. I think that they're going to start showing some growth. I really think the fact that you have 2 very young people playing the left side of your offensive line, they're starting to figure things out. We really haven't highlighted a negative aspect of Kingsley, which a lot of us thought there was going to be a problem. He really hasn't had a huge negative. So I think this offensive line is going to come together, and I really think that that's something to kind of look at. You're also, and we kind of keep beating the dead horse with the receivers that eventually are going to be coming back. Once you start to put a Jalen Royals back in, we don't know what he is. He's literally an X factor, but he's an option. When you start to incorporate an Xavier Worthy back into this, that creates a dynamic that we're missing. When you start to incorporate a Rashee Rice, who is just that dude, you're going to start kind of creating an opportunity for this offense that we just are not having at this moment. So, Josh, my question to you is kind of the same thing. I want to know your thoughts on this AFC as a whole. What are your thoughts right now?
So I'm not concerned about the AFC West yet. I pretty much agree with what Michael was saying. And I'm not worried about the 1 seed yet. And it's maybe too early to be worrying about any of that. But I will say, I think your margin of error is now gone for a potential 1 seed, because Buffalo, Baltimore, these are teams that will probably lose 3 to 4 games max. So you've lost your margin of error for the 1 seed. And we know how important that is for this team, because they played so many games over the last 5-year stretch, and to have to play an additional playoff game, to have to potentially play a road playoff game, it's not an ideal situation. And to already basically, be worrying about that at this point in the season, that's certainly not where I envisioned this Chiefs team being at the beginning. I'm just hopeful that they can rattle off some wins here, though. But as Michael already pointed out, the schedule's tough, and it's not really getting any easier.
For sure. Well, I think the last question, obviously, and Michael kind of hit on it a little bit, I do want to kind of briefly touch on the tush push. I think not only did we see Tom Brady highlighted on the broadcast, because he very, very highlighted the fact that the 2 guards jumped way before the ball was ever snapped. I think it's also kind of suspect at times. And again, I don't want to sit here and use what the National Football League fan base likes to hold against the Chiefs, because I think it's kind of crazy sometimes. But I think the fact that the center often lines up over the ball in the tush push, there's a lot of things that just kind of happen that is almost like it's I don't even know how to say it. With a referee, it's hard to really gauge when the play's happening, where the ball's actually spotted. There's just so many things I think that are wrong with this play. Now, obviously, the owners voted, they wanted to keep it around. I guess, really, what are your thoughts on the tush push in general? And I'll start with you, Darcy.
I mean, I don't think that the NFL should ban it because one team does it very well. I don't like the play. I feel like, when does forward progress become, when does that get factored in? Because if you get stood up and the play's done and you get that late push that gets you over the marker, I don't really get how that is deemed a first down. I also think, listen, just because the Eagles do it well doesn't mean they should ban it, but you should ban it if the guards jump before the snap. Or you've at least got to call it because, I mentioned it a little bit in my video. If if you help the offense that is running a nearly unstoppable play without the guards jumping, when they jump, you just have no chance.
Josh, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, how significant is it when the biggest cheater in NFL history is on the broadcast saying this is too much cheating? But no, I mean, Dean Blandino was talking about it on the broadcast, and they were asking him about it, and he's like, I'm done with the tush push, guys. And I think that kind of speaks for everyone outside of Philadelphia, because I was once of the belief that, you know, if you can't stop it, you know, that sucks, figure out a way. But it's just, I mean, it's really hard to officiate, as they said, because if it's, my feeling is that if it's this hard to officiate in real time, then the play probably shouldn't exist. And it was very close to getting banned this offseason. I know some have said it's also an injury risk. That was one of the arguments they made this offseason to try and get it banned. I know it was close to getting banned. They decided not to. I think they probably will end up banning it after this season, though.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Well, I think that's all we have for this video. There will be more to come, obviously, this week. I just think that this game, there were a lot of opportunities. We're going to highlight a lot of different things throughout the week. I just really think that, again, I'm going to keep my optimism. I think that's just kind of who I am, and I'm trying to instill this with these two guys right here to keep their optimism up, because I think that this team has a lot to offer, and it's almost like we're going to get mid-season trades when we start to bring back guys like Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice, and you know who else may join this team at some point, with Brett Veach probably being discouraged. So I think there's going to be a lot to kind of discuss and talk about as we continue through this. I appreciate both of you joining me, and we end every video the same way. Michael, where can the people find you?
You guys can find me on YouTube at KC Sports Report and on podcasting platforms like Spotify and Apple.
And I'm looking forward to the zone and you guys talking about it. So make sure you guys tune in to 8:10 in the afternoon for sure. Josh?
You can find me here on YouTube. Channel name is Show Me Football. Check out the work on showmefootball.com, and then follow the Twitter at ShowMeFB.